Hey y'all, hi, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to day 2 of my 31 day of October horror special or horror story special or horror game special. Okay, every day this month up until my birthday, which is November 1st. I can't even talk today. I'm going to make a little horror series. Like every single day I'll come on here and kind of tell you a little story time about myself living in Haiti, like what I've experienced, like paranormal thing that I've experienced living in Haiti, and also we'll go over some paranormal games that people play here to basically summon demons into their life, as if we don't already have enough problem as it is. So I'm just using some toner right now. We're just going to do a quick little makeup. I have some place I'm going tonight, so I'm excited. So we're just going to do some light makeup, very natural. So today's video is brought to you by my life. It's quick little story about living in Haiti. It's a little weird, but you'll see why. Okay, so this story is really going to be about the day that I saw my dead neighbor walking. Like, he was already dead, and I was in town, getting things, and I saw him. And when I got back home, he was pronounced dead. Obviously, he couldn't be there where I saw him, but as a kid, I wasn't thinking I wasn't putting two and two together until, like, when I got home, I realized, what do you mean? I just saw him, So yeah, we're going to just start from the beginning of the story. Okay, so growing up in Haiti, thing is definitely different from here. Like, growing up here as a kid, you don't have to do as much, and I'm going to explain that. Growing up in Haiti, I can remember 6-7 years old, I'm getting sent to the market to do groceries for a whole family, and going to go get water to provide for the house. Like, obviously I'm not the one paying for it, but I have to go fetch the water at like a sewer or something, for the house. And like getting sent to the market to do market so people can cook at the age of 7-8 wasn't something that was out of the norm. It was normal for us, so it was normal. So I don't remember the exact date or like time, but I do remember I was around 6 or 7 when this happened. We had this neighbor, and in the town where I grew up, almost everyone in Haiti, you're basically like family. Like, all your neighbors are literally like your family. Okay, if they cook, if your neighbor that's next to you, on the right to you, cook, you will have food to provide for your entire family without you having to cook. Like, people will give you food, and then whenever you cook, you'll send a plate to them, whatever. So you'll never have to worry about, like, oh, I don't have food to feed my family, because your neighbors got you. Like, if they have money to cook, they will send you enough food so you can provide for your entire family for that day. So we were all very, very close, and that neighbor was the neighbor who had a little market at his house. Not really a little market, but they would sell things out of their house, like rice, beans, lighter fluid, or fluid for the lamp, because at that time we were using like the little stand-up lamps that you will put the fluid in, and you light it, you use it for the night, pretty much. We didn't have like electricity, things like that, even though it was not too long ago. But not having electricity in the town that I live was a normal thing. So yeah, that neighbor, everybody knew. But the scandal of the town was that he was messing with somebody else's wife, and they did voodoo on him because he was messing with the person's wife. They did voodoo on him, and he ended up getting really, 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 really sick. And that was the rumor of the town, was that the husband of the wife was the one that did voodoo on him. I'm a kid, I don't know this, okay? I don't know anything about this. I just know this man is sick, whatever. And since we knew him, he would always like have candy for us, things like that, as little kids. We would always wonder, like, well, where is he? Because they kept him in the house. Like, the whole time they kept him in the house. I don't know if they were doing exorcism and stuff on him, but we didn't know anything about that. We just knew that he was sick and he was in the house. We never got to see him. So like my friend and I, which my best friend name was is Darlene, she's still in Haiti. We would try to like sneak into like the window to see if we can see him like laying there. And I remember one time we saw him, but he was skinny. Like he was not like we remembered him at all. So it was just weird to us because we didn't know like the concept of, you know, getting really, really skinny or just losing so much weight when you're sick. We didn't know, we were kids. So when we saw him that day, it almost looked like he was about to die. Like he looked like a skeleton, okay? So then one day, my aunt decided to send me to the market for water and to buy things to cook. We went to the market to get the water. It was just me by myself. And then I met my friend at the market, and we ended up staying a lot longer than we were supposed to. So we stayed. It was around we went around 11 a.m. It was like summertime, so we weren't supposed to be in school or anything. So I met my friend, and we ended up staying there until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That day, I didn't even want to go home because I felt like I was going to get a whooping. So I didn't even want to go home. So I ended up spending the whole time with my friend. And then actually around like 4 o'clock that afternoon, I was getting ready to go back home because they're getting ready to cook and things. So I had to bring all the groceries. And as I was going, I stopped to get water because on the way there, so I live in Okap, and on the way, well, I live in Limbe. On the way, you have to pass this place. It's called no point, like that was the name of the area that we were going. So on the way home from the market, you'll pass the place where you'll get water. And because at that time the water thing wasn't working, so there was no water coming, so everybody was waiting in line, you know, waiting until the water thing starts. So while I'm waiting, and there's a bunch of people, and right there too is the bus station, so it's always crowded there. So at the bus station, I'm waiting. You see people that you've never seen before, you know, because people are coming from out of the village and then taking the bus to go out of the village, and people are coming into the village, so you see everybody. So as I'm waiting, I saw this bus coming, and I see somebody on the bus who looks very familiar. Well, it wasn't a bus, it was like a jitney or something. So if you live in Miami, you'll know what a jitney is. It's like one of those short little cars. And in Haiti, like, they are packed. Like, people on there are on top of each other like sardines, okay? And I saw it coming, and I saw somebody at the very back of the thing holding on at the back, just holding on to nothing pretty much. And as he was coming, I'm like, is that my neighbor? Like, but the whole time I'm seeing him, he looks exactly like he looked before he was sick. Not how I saw him when me and my friend sneak into the window to look. Okay, he looked like he has not been sick, like he has all his weight on him, like when I remember him before he was sick. So I'm like, there's no way. So my friend is with me, and I'm like, Darlene, do you see that? Do you see him? We're just talking to each other about, like, do we see him? And sure enough, the bus stopped because it came to, you know, the stop where it's supposed to stop and drop people off. The bus stops, and all the people came out of the bus, and here he is coming out. And he came out of the bus, but instead of going the direction where our house is, because by now I'm still waiting for the water thing to come. So I'm waiting on the water, and then here he is coming off of the bus, and we're like, hey, you know, like, to us, we're just kids. We're like, oh, maybe he just got better, because we haven't seen him. We saw him maybe a week or so prior to, you know, seeing him that day, but we thought, we don't know, we're kids. We thought, oh, maybe he's just better. And we haven't seen him ever since that one day that we saw him in his house, pretty much about to die. Can I stop and point out how great this flawless brush thing work? Dude, take a look. Like, I promise I'm not farting, it's my chair. Promise. But look how amazing this flawless brush applies the foundation. I'm using Juvia's Place, and it is the holy grail of foundation, okay? Especially for dark skinned people. Oh my god, like, when it dries, It dries like velvet. It's amazing. I love it. But anyways, so we saw him, and instead of him trying to like walk the direction to go home, because if you're coming from somewhere, that means you haven't been home, and especially like the bus that he was taking, it looked like it was coming from a different town, like a different location, like he wasn't in the town that we live at all. So we called him. We're like, hey, his name was George. We're like, hey George, how are you, blah blah blah. So we're talking to him. He's talking to us back, and it's almost like he knows who we are, so it wasn't nothing weird. He knew exactly who we were. So we were like, okay, well, where did you come from? Are you feeling better, blah blah blah? And he's responding as if he knows what we're talking about, like, yeah, I've been a lot better. I started feeling better like recently, and I had to go see my family or whatever. So then we're like, okay. And then all of a sudden, like, the water thing came back on. It's weird how it happened, but a water thing finally started working again, and we're getting the water. But instead of him going or trying to find a direction to go back home, which is the opposite direction to where he's facing, he's facing the other way pretty much. So we're like, oh, are you getting ready to go home? He says, no, actually, I'm not getting ready to go home right now. I'm going to go to Olive, which is another town over, to see his cousin. So I said, okay, so we'll see you back home whenever you come back. He agrees. He's like, yeah. And then he left, and we didn't think anything of it. We just thought, a grown man doing his thing. So then my friend and I decided to get the water, and we ended up leaving, because by then we've been out all day. Okay, so we're already like dreading going home, because we don't want to get a whooping because we've been out all day. I mean, I don't know if my best friend was out all day, but I know I was. I met her at the market. So then we're dreading to go home. Then finally we decided to just go, and by the time we got home, it was maybe like 5-ish by the time we got home. Okay, so then we went home, and from like, as we're almost getting home, we could hear the noise. Like, people in Haiti, when I tell you, when like there's a death, we get dramatic. We get real dramatic. The screaming, the throwing yourself on the ground and rolling and all of that stuff. One time I went to a funeral where this one lady, it's like super dramatic. She had special needs. Not laughing at her problem, okay? But she was like the funniest lady of the town. Like, everybody knew her. She went to the funeral, and she loved this person. It was a family member of hers. And what she'll do is, she loved attention so much, even though she had special needs, like, she was with it. She had a kid and everything, but unfortunately her kid didn't make it. But she just loved attention, and she knew how to get attention. So they were getting ready to bury the person, and she literally attempted to throw herself in the hole. And then somebody who likes to play, it's just a guy in the neighborhood who everybody knows is a jokester, okay? So he knows this girl loves playing like that. So when she attempted to throw herself in the hole, he attempted to push her in the hole. Obviously he wasn't gonna push her in the hole. She said, oh, si me tombé, which means, oh, what if I actually fell in the hole? It's funny. It's like an inside joke that most people just wouldn't understand. Like, you have to be there to understand. We know her. We know how she is. So we know, like, she wasn't trying to throw herself in the hole. And the reason he did that is because he knows that she really didn't want to fall in the hole, obviously. But yeah, so when we got there, the whole town was crying, just throwing a fit. And that's when they were like, what's going on? What's going on? And that's when they said, so-and-so died. And my friend and myself, my friend looked at me and I looked at her like, what? What do you mean he died? Well, apparently he had died an hour or so ago. Okay, so that means 30-minute prior, because it didn't take us long to get back home because we weren't that far from the house. 30-minute prior, we saw this man walking coming off of the bus, walking to go to the opposite direction to go see his cousin. Okay, and he clearly spoke to us saying that he will be back soon, but he is going to go see his cousin the next town over, which is Olive. Yeah, think about that. So this man, I don't know if it was like his spirit who was like being free, you know, just leaving his body and just going on a journey or whatever, but how come we were able to see him? Not only I saw him, but she also saw him. Why is that? So now I wonder also if it's because I'm not putting anything crazy on, guys. Like, I be doing the most natural makeup. It's crazy. Like, I don't put anything on at all. So when they told me that this man had passed away an hour ago, which 30 minutes prior to that, or prior to us getting to the house and hearing the news, he was alive. Well, according to us, he was alive, like we saw him. And I will never forget that day. I saw this man walking. I saw him getting off of the bus and walking, even though at the time it was weird, but he spoke to us. Okay, he said he was coming back. So I'm like, there's no way. I'm telling my aunt, I'm like, there's no way. We just saw this man. We just saw this man. And they're looking at us like we're crazy. They're talking to us like, don't be crazy. Don't be saying things like that, you know? Because to them now, we're not being honest. So all of that happened. And then they had a funeral for him maybe a few months. Well, not a few months. Like a week or so later. But a week or so later, somebody else said the same thing, that they saw him. They saw him walking and going towards the same town that he said he was going to go to. So I know we're not crazy because I saw him, she saw him, and somebody else also said that they saw him. So, anyways, guys, that was pretty much the end of that story. We saw this man, and then he was announced dead, or he was pronounced dead a few minutes later, and we were also told that he died the time that we are saying that we saw him. So I don't even know what's real anymore. If we actually saw him, I really don't know. But as a kid, you just don't remember. You just don't forget stuff. I know that I saw this man, and I will never forget that. I know for a fact. And it doesn't stop there, because a few months after that, another kid died in the neighborhood, and we also saw him. Me and that girl also saw him. It wasn't exactly the same day that he died, but like we saw him somewhere. It's weird. But anyways, guys, so that's it for this video. That's it for the makeup too. I don't really do a lot on my face, so that's the reason why I'm not really doing much. But next week, or tomorrow, I will come on here and actually tell you guys a little bit more about my experience dealing with like voodoo and things like that in Haiti, and things that I've seen. Like, I'm gonna tell you guys about my godmom story. Like, she died. Somebody did voodoo on her and she died, and I was in the house with her when she died. So I remember like the last few moments of her life, and I actually, after she passed away, I actually was haunted. Like, my sleep, I couldn't sleep. I was having nightmares of her coming to get me. And even my sisters could tell you, like, I would always wake up in the middle of the night screaming, saying that she is in my dream and she's asking to take me with her. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I like dabbling into like the darker side of things. Not necessarily like deep darker side of things, just because I have seen things, I have experienced things. I like to get myself involved in very, very small things, not crazy stuff. I don't like to, you know, get involved with like summon demons and things like that. We don't do stuff like that over here. But like death and dying have never really scared me, just because I have been exposed to it as a kid for so long. And to me, it's like normal. So yeah, guys. Oh, my cat is outside, so you guys won't see him in this video, but he's here. So hopefully next video you'll see him. Okay, guys. Bye. Hope you have a lovely night. Drink your tea so you don't get sick.